personally, I'll be honest. I told our owners when they called, I said, I think I don't understand why you're doing this.
You could create your own starting five. What's your team?
It would be me, LeBron, Steph, Kevin Durant, and I'm going to go with Bam Adebayo.
Gentlemen, do not watch basketball.
Chris, I don't know what was in the water down in Indianapolis for All-Star Weekend, but the Milwaukee Bucks went on a media blitz tour, and they put their foot in their mouths, all collectively. Everybody down there except for Malik Beasley. You had Giannis Antetokounmpo saying that, basically he doesn't watch basketball at all. You had Damian Lillard giving his list of his starting five that did not include Giannis in it. And then you have Doc Rivers, who's out here basically saying that he had he told Bucks ownership he didn't know why they were firing Adrian Griffin. All these, again, so I'll start with this. This is Guru Trey Crosby III.
Chris King.
At the Cream City crossover, doing what we do. But Chris, none of this makes sense for anybody involved. And so I'll say from top to bottom, like the best to worst comment, like Giannis is by far the one I can dismiss the easiest down the list, because we know he watches film, right? Like we know he doesn't go into games blind. He knows who his opponents are. And I've actually heard Giannis talk about this before. Like Giannis has talked about this. And what he said is, what he actually means when he's saying he doesn't watch film or he doesn't know what guys are doing. What he's saying is, I don't watch it when I come back from this facility. Like, I do my practice time. I put in the film work. I do all this. But when I come home to the family, it's family time. Like, I do that as a job. And I think a lot of people really, if you break that down, you can relate to it, right? Because most people don't continue doing their job after hours. Like, that's it. I don't say it's insane, but you don't have to necessarily turn on a TV and watch basketball all day long. Nothing wrong with doing it. Like Kobe Bryant obsessed over basketball, and I don't think Giannis doesn't obsess over basketball, but he doesn't have to come in and turn on the game every time he comes in when he wants to play with his kids. I don't have a problem with that. I go with Damian Lillard next. Dame's list of his starting five, where he names himself, Steph, LeBron, KD, and Bam Adebayo. It's an insane list, dog. I'm trying to give Damian Lillard the benefit of the doubt, and I'm hoping that, he didn't mean anything by it. But it's just crazy that you don't include Giannis in the list. And then of your list, like LeBron's 40, and then you have Bam Adebayo. Like it didn't make sense. And I know that Bam Adebayo and Damian Lillard are boys. He wanted to go to Miami, obviously. I get that. And I know that Dame in the past has talked about teaming up with Giannis as the guy who thinks he can lead him to a championship and get to the playoffs. But you have to think about what you're saying and why it may be interpreted and how it may be interpreted. If the Bucks are rolling and everybody's great and no problems, maybe this goes over a little easier. And I'm not saying there's any problems with this, but you have to know this is a bad look. So at the very least, it shows a lack of judgment, because you just can't say it. Whether you believe it or not, you don't come out when your team is having problems, when you fired the coach, when you've publicly admitted that you're having problems connecting and fitting in, and you're making all these excuses as to why you're not playing at the level you want to play at, and then you come in and you just nuke it some more by putting Bam Adebayo in your starting five. Made no sense. And then Doc Rivers, which again, his comments, they add fuel to the fire of all of the discussion about Doc Rivers, throwing guys under the bus and everything that's been said about him blowing leads and whatnot and not taking accountability. And he comes in and says, let me get this straight. Doc Rivers was apparently contacted, whether he took the job or not, as a consultant, but he was contacted in December to be a consultant for the Bucks. And again, he says he didn't take the job. That's fine. But if they're asking you to consult for Adrian Griffin in the middle of the year, you can't then tell me you are surprised that he gets fired. Then and I can't. What do you mean you're doing this in the? Well, how would you? It's like what? Why are people talking so much? Like, these guys are talking too much. It's crazy. Just shut up. Talk about basketball. Talk about how you're going to get this team together and fixed and what's going to be next. They are shooting themselves in the foot with these comments for no good reason. I can't understand it. Chris, help me.
I thought they did a poor job of just expressing what they felt. I mean, I think Giannis and a lot of basketball minds probably agree with what he said about just he doesn't go home and watch basketball, because you know what that can do for a basketball mind and a guy who is obsessed with basketball? It throws him off of what the next challenge is. It could throw you off of what the next task is and who you're playing next and stuff like that. So every time you're not tuning into NBA TV and thinking about, oh, how are we going to beat these guys' teams when they're not even on the schedule maybe, or you're not going to be playing them in a while. So I think that's good for Giannis, to be honest, that he's not always focused on basketball every moment of the day, because I know he does his work, and I know he probably is in the Bucks facility and doing the film study and stuff like that. And there's not really a story there. Maybe just word it better or something. I don't know. But the Dame comment, I get it. Look, I get that, like you said, he's said that he wanted to team up with Giannis. He's always came out and kind of went to bat for Giannis in terms of who he wants to play with. But I think it's just stupidly unaware that you can go into a media room or whatever, a press conference, and not include the guy who you want to help you win the NBA Finals. I mean, the guys that you mentioned, he talked about Bam and LeBron and stuff like that. Like, come on, dude, what are we doing? I mean, you got one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league, right, on your side, and you're going to just go completely off the rails here? Like, really, is that what we're doing? So that was stupid. And then the Doc thing, like, look, do you even want the job? Like, did you even want to take the job? Like, is that – I don't get that. Like, why are you – it's like he almost feels bad for Adrian Griffin and what the Bucks did, and it's stupid.
And what he's doing, Chris, is like, it's not that I don't think it's that he feels bad. I think it's that he wants it to look like he feels bad. Yeah. He wants to give off this appearance that, oh man, I was blindsided just like everybody. Well, I guess if you're gonna ask me, I guess I have to take it. Like, come on, Doc. Yeah,
it's stupid. And then obviously we didn't talk about this, but Pat Bev going at JJ Redick and stuff. When I think we agree with JJ with the fact that Doc doesn't really take much accountability. So I mean, just like you've mentioned before, we just have all these characters, and they definitely shot themselves in the foot with what they did this weekend. It was just very dramatic of the Bucks, and that's not something you normally see out of a team like this.
No, and that's the thing. This team has almost overnight become very dramatic. And I remember the days in 2017, 18, 19, they had some playoff failures in some of those years, but they were not a dramatic basketball club. They didn't have, like you said, the characters now. You have Giannis, who, again, like it or not, he has an ego. He's an NBA superstar. Damian Lillard, who is an NBA superstar, who's comes in with his own ego and all the things that go on with him. Pat Beverly, who's talking crazy right now. Bobby Porter is one of those guys always talking. Doc Rivers, who has one of those egos and carries in, big name coaching guy. Like, listen, there are 20-some games left in the regular season. Like, this is going to be interesting, Chris, because, I mean, for the first time in a long time, like, this team is they have two options. And I don't think, even though this is not the first time the Milwaukee Bucks have had expectations upon them, they basically have ever since Giannis has ascended to an MVP level. But this team has two options. They are either going to ascend from the ashes and become have one of the greatest playoff runs that we've ever seen and that will be talked about for years and years to come, or they will flame out and burn yet again, and it's going to be talked about as one of the biggest failures in Milwaukee Bucks history. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to say it. I don't think it'd be NBA history. I think Giannis' name is big, but it's not as big as like failing with the Brooklyn Nets did and some of those other teams that have failed throughout history. But yeah, I mean, it's one of two ways this goes. I don't think there's any room for any in between. And what's going to happen is if you go the other way, if you flame out and burn, there's going to be you just look at it right now. All the talk that's going on now, you can just feel there's going to be finger pointing and blaming and scapegoats. And I don't know how this thing's gonna pan out if the Bucks don't win a championship or come very, very, very close to it.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's showing early signs of just being a dysfunctional organization. Look, if they do flame out, there's going to be articles from Chris Haynes, Eric, and guys like that about what went wrong and try to get this team to turn their backs on each other. And that's obviously something I don't want to happen, but these are early signs of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, we're going to be all over it All-Star Weekend's over. Hopefully the talk is over. Let's get to playing some basketball the back half of the season. From the Guru, Trey Crosby III.
Chris King.
This has been the Cream City Crossover All-Star Weekend wrap-up. Back with more the rest of the season. Catch us.